Hey guys, John here. Another anti-guru exercise, eh? It's great. So, I wanted to talk about Class G and M and how they work together, and more importantly, I wanted to reflect upon, again, one of my winners, because what I'm doing is going through some of my older caseload. Now it's all been done, and it's nice for me as a town planner to come and see a finished article. It also gives me an opportunity to tell you about what happens to Class G after the 6th of April, and more importantly tells you why the national standards don't apply to it. So I'll roll the credits, join me a couple of minutes, and we'll go through this one of my most famous Class G and M combinations. So for those of you who have seen me teach, and I do have a habit of doing that, you'll recognise this property behind me. There it is. This is Powers Court Road, and we're on London Road. So this is like a local centre. It's not quite a local centre. We're sort of between two district centres, but we've got some shopping going on here. And what we've got here is a Class G and M combination. So the top floors, you see them there, the top floor there was a Class G, 2 flats above an existing shop. It was an aquatic shop, it sold fish. Fish are a pet, they're goods, and therefore that is a shop, right? Now, we applied for essentially habitats regulations consent for that, because we're in Portsmouth, nitrates are an issue, and we had to apply for HAB regs, which we did. And we got. So we got an allowance towards the Solent special protection areas, and that got our Class G tick in the box. Great. Now these flats, one of them in particular is 30 square meters. Now there's been much talk, much speculation as to whether I could do that after the 6th of April, and I wanted to cover it up. So after the 6th of April, the answer is yes, as far as my understanding goes. Class G will be available on sub-national standards compliant property, and that is because Class G doesn't create a true use. So Class G creates a mixed use, 2 flats above a shop, right? Doesn't create a true use, 2 flats divorced from the shop. That's what Class M is for. And the guidance on the subject, the explanatory memorandum, makes clear that the change, the application of the national standards, only applies to prior approval. Class M does not apply to Class G, which is a straight permitted development right. So that's the explanation. So once we got 2 flats, there you are, above a shop underway, in fact once they were at first fix, we then applied for a Class M submission. Now I'm going to be honest here, I was a bit of an idiot on this one, because I misread, like everyone misread, what Class M did. At the time we only thought it meant 1 dwelling. In reality it meant more than 1 dwelling. Reread it, learnt it. So we ended up doing a planning application as well. So ground floor there, that became a flat Class M. That centre section there became a flat under a planning permission. Fine. Now interestingly enough, that flat in the middle we ended up having to go to appeal on. Probably shouldn't have had to do that if we ended up with a Class M. And that's because the council were applying the national standards. That flat in the middle there has a basement that's 10 square meters in size, taking it from a flat of 30 square meters to a flat of 40 square meters. That worked. Now there's a final wrinkle in this tale, and I'm going to take you this way, sort of poke you at the back of this property. There, you see that bit right up there, that corner? That's an extension. Now that was applied for under a planning permission. Shops and flats need planning permission for extension. How much is clear? right? So it was applied for under a planning permission. Don't lose it, John. Must fire the cameraman, get a better one. And we applied for that as a householder edition. Now, why did we do that? Well, first and foremost, if we had applied for it prior to there being a flat there, the council would have legitimately been allowed to treat it as a flat. And if they treat it as a flat, then it doesn't comply with the national standards, and they would have been able to refuse it because the resultant flat would not comply with the national standards. But because we applied for it after a flat had been formed, after it got to first fix, where it was no longer recognisable as part of a shop anymore, then we could exempt ourselves from the national standards that way, because the national standards are for the creation of new dwellings, not the addition of existing dwellings. That's fine. So 9 square metres up in the top corner there, got planning permission. Now again, we had to go to appeal on that as well, as Portsmouth by this point had worked out what we were doing and were by far then impressed of what I'd managed to achieve. But that being said, it set the tone for every other Class M that I've done on this street, and I've done a couple more since then. I hope that's been of interest. Like, comment, subscribe, of course. I'll catch you on the next Anti-Guru.